The ethic of care. The ethic of care is a way of thinking about ethics and morality that focuses on relationship and real people and beings, not just abstract rules. It's based on the idea that how we care for others and how we stay committed to that care. This approach was shaped by a psychologist, Carol Gilligan, and developed further by philosopher Neil Noddings, who challenges some of the old, rule focused way of thinking about ethics. Noddings says there are two main forms of caring. First is natural caring, which means when you help someone because you want to, like a parent comforting a crying child or a friend cooking a meal for you when you're sick because they want to do it. Second is ethical caring, when you help because you've committed to being the kind of person who cares, even when you don't feel like it. For example, a person volunteers to rehabilitate an injured animals with which they have no personal connection, but because they've committed to animal protection, too, they do it because they've committed to animal protection. Noddings says when we discuss the ethical ideal, we shall be talking about virtue, but we shall not let virtue dissipate into the virtues described in abstract categories. Okay, here Noddings is making a distinction by virtues in the plural and virtue in singular. She means the abstract traits that moral philosophers often list, like honesty, courage, or temperance. These are just categories you can write down on paper. By virtue in singular form, she means the lived quality of caring itself, not just an isolated trait, but a way of being that grows in relationship with others. Nodding says, the holy man living abstemiously on top of the mountain, praying thrice daily and denying himself human intercourse, may display virtues, but they are not the virtues of one caring. The virtue described by the ethical ideal of one caring is built up in relation and relationship. It reaches out to the other and grows in response to the other. Okay, now I'd like you to pause for a moment and think. Who is this other for you? Who are the people, beings, or communities in your life that call for your care? So, where does our moral obligation come from in the ethic of care? Nodding says there are two key factors. First, when there's an existing or possible caring relationship. Second, when the relationship can grow, can it become more mutual, more connected? Obligation in such care depends on the relation. So relation and relationship is a key word. For Noddings, we are most strongly obligated to care when we are already in relation with another, like a child in our arms, or when the relation is imminent and real. The growth of relation is another story. When, for example, with an embryo, the relation is very weak at first. It's only an information speck because there is no present relation, no reciprocity, no consciousness. But as it develops into a fetus, especially once it can move, respond, or be felt, the possibility of relation grows. The obligation to care increases in proportion to that growth in potential reciprocity. So, abortion, according to Nodings, must be considered on a case-by-case basis. This is why, she argues, it cannot be judged as simply right or wrong in the abstract. To say that justice is either doing or not doing abortion would move us away from an ethic of care. Instead, it depends on two things. Is there an existing relation? For example, women already loves the child to be, imagines its future. So yes, the relation is strong and obligation is stronger. Second, is there a potential for growing relation? For example, as the fetus develops, its ability to be cared for increases and obligation grows too. So, when Noddings says relation can grow, she means the more the other, for example, fetus, child, person, is able to enter into relation as a cared for, to respond, to be imagined, to be loved, the stronger the moral obligation to care becomes. Okay, now I want you to think about something here. Please pause and reflect for a moment. For example, a farmer may care for their chickens or cows every day, feeding them, knowing their behavior, even nursing them when they are sick. But at the end of the day, the farmer also exploits them and eventually kills them for meat. So, what does this mean? It maybe shows us that caring alone cannot always guarantee protection or respect. And this leads to a deeper question. What do we really mean by caring? What is caring? Anyway, okay, when it comes to teaching morality and ethics, Noddings warns against only giving kids rules, like, for example, never steal or never hurt animals. Instead, she says we should help them understanding why an action might harm someone in a particular situation. For example, if a child pulls a kitten's tail, don't just say, that's wrong. Shows them the kitten's reaction. Teach them to hold it gently and help them see and feel the difference. Finally, Noddings reminds us that institutions, governments, schools, organizations can't truly care. Yes, they can create policies that reflect care, but only individuals can meet someone's face to face as one caring. So, laws are helpful, but they can't replace the personal responsibility of real human connection. Ethic of care is about sustaining the will to be good through relationships. It's about meeting each person you encounter with openness and genuine concern, even when it's not easy. And it's about remembering that morality isn't just about rules. It's about people and other beings and how we choose to treat them in the moments that matters most.